Jeez, I can't believe it's already been 1.5 years since I've met you.
You're halfway done with law school.
It still feels really surreal, doesn't it?
I just met you yesterday when you were a prospective student. How did this happen?
You know, I remember, so I'd come to visit Penn as part of the Admin Students Weekend, and I just remember on one hand, it was a very crazy weekend. I'd just flown in the previous, on that Friday of that week, and then for the time when I met you, it was for the purpose of interviewing for the TOEFL Public Interest Scholarship.
Yep.
I remember going into the interview, I was pretty nervous about it, as you can imagine, but I remember you, along with the other folks who were interviewing me, immediately just put me at ease. I remember you offering me water, oranges, encouraging me to eat the oranges in front of you all. And
We treat nerves with food around here.
yes, and it worked out very well.
Yes, you didn't seem nervous at all. You just, expressed that you were maybe a little bit anxious, but you clearly did just fine.
And I think little did I know, however, that my mentorship at Penn from you really started from that moment, because I remember a few days after the interview, I had received a phone call from you where you had graciously extended me an offer for the TOEFL scholarship, and which I accepted. And even during the summer, as I started thinking about what my public interest career would shape out to be, you'd periodically reach out to me, let me know you're here as a resource. And you've really been helpful for me in terms of starting to refine my public interest goals and aspirations even before law school, and especially throughout law school.
I remember that over the summer before you arrived, that you sent this beautiful, thoughtful email about how you've been thinking more about what we discussed during the interview, and you're now thinking that you might want to shift gears when you get here. And now that you're here, I think people shift gears all the time. Yeah. But at the time, I thought, okay, he's clearly being really intentional about what he's going to do when he gets here. But I think it's always a goal to make sure that you have room to explore all sorts of things and to adjust course however you want. And I know we've had a lot of good conversations since then as you continue to figure things out.
And I always found your mentorship particularly very instructive for me, because we also share similar socioeconomic background. I remember going into law school, being a first-generation college graduate and now first-generation law student. A lot of the spaces here felt very foreign to me. And although I was confident in my ability to adapt, I knew it was still going to be a process. And just given how you've had similar experiences growing up as well, I just remember whenever you provide me with advice in terms of how to go about navigating law school, but also my legal career, there was always a personal touch and authenticity in your advice that I felt I could relate to. And that's really helped make law school not only, of course, a very academically fulfilling experience, but I think a personally enjoyable one for me as well, on the whole.
That means a lot to me. I think it's a subject very close to my heart. I often felt like somebody has a rule book that nobody shared with me, and I never want our students to feel that way. When in doubt, ask. And I'm really grateful that you've taken that to heart, and that if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you who else in the building, or one of our wonderful alums, or faculty, or other staff. But there's always somebody to help, And I think knowing that you're not at a disadvantage just because you don't know something is such an important part of being successful in law school, and we're all so invested in everyone's success. So I'm really glad that you have felt like you had that support.
Yeah, and I really felt that mentorship was very evident in other areas of my law school experience. For example, in addition to you, I've received a lot of mentorship from other TPIC staff members as well, whether it's Emily, Hillary, or Netta. And each of them has been able to provide me advice, but also in a different type of capacity. Whereas, for example, Netta's been able to give me a lot of advice on how to pursue a career as a government litigator, which is my ultimate aspiration. Hillary and Emily's also been able to provide me advice on just thinking about how I want my public interest career to shape out to be, and how I can go about engendering the type of social impacts and change that I hope to see in the future.
Yeah. It's wonderful to know that you have a whole team supporting you. And I know we think it's so much fun and such a privilege to work with all of you. And I personally love the way you all support each other. And I don't mean just the TOEFL scholars, I mean all of you students supporting each other, answering questions, saying, oh, have you talked to Netta? Oh, have you talked to Emily? And really, getting the word out that there is this community of support for you, and answering each other and helping each other along the way. I think that's one of the things that makes Penn Law so special, is that we really are all in this together.
Mm-hmm. And just given sort of the demanding work schedule you have, being director of TPIC and also being an associate dean at the school, how have you been able to continue providing mentorship to a broad audience here at Penn Law? I imagine that there's always a lot of boss who juggles at the law school with your different responsibilities, yet, at least just from my personal experience, as well as a lot of my friends as well, you've been able to really give them that one-to-one personal advice that's really been helpful in our own respective careers.
You always make time for what you love. And you guys are the absolute best part of this job. Email can wait, and does sometimes. But I think, if you ask anyone who works here, it's absolutely the opportunities to work with students one-on-one that make the job worthwhile. So thank you for making everything we do so meaningful.